Welcome back. It's been a while. 38 days since Leicester City signed off for the winter break with that win at West Ham, but at least we had that exhilarating World Cup to keep us occupied over the last month or so. But Leicester City now firmly focused on a return to domestic issues, starting with the League Cup today, a place in the quarter-finals up for grabs as they take on MK Dons tonight. And we've got you covered here on Matchday Live. We've got our team in Milton Keynes to bring you commentary a little later, but before that we'll be building up to the game, taking a look back at some of Leicester's big moments from the season so far as well. But first, let's get some team news for Leicester City ahead of tonight's clash with Milton Keynes Dons. And it looks like this, starting in goal, Danny Ward, back from his adventures with Wales at the World Cup. In fact, 5 of those players who went out to Qatar feature from the start, including Timothy Castagna and Daniel Amati Wout Faes as well. Luke Thomas plays at left back tonight. In midfield, Boubakary Soumaré, joined by Yuri Tielemans and Dennis Praet in midfield. And then an attacking lineup of Harvey Barnes, Ayoze Perez and Jamie Vardy leading the line. On the bench, Mark Albrighton, Kelechi Iheanacho, Patson Daka, Yannick Vestergaard, Papi Mendy, Wilfred Ndidi, Casey McAteer, Will Alves and Daniel Everson. That is how Leicester City are lining up for tonight. For us tonight, myself, Lewis Mason, with you throughout the evening. Really looking forward to being joined by Leicester City royalty. Mr. Jerry Taggart is with us. Jerry, good evening. How are you? We've got no sound from you, Jerry. Can't hear a word you're saying right now. The way we like it to be quite honest, with Jerry Taggart. Well, we've got Jerry Taggart. We'll just work out how to get his microphone on. We've also got Ewan Roberts and Niall McCorn at Stadium MK for us, who will be providing our commentary a little bit later. But in terms of what we've got coming up on the show, let's take a little look at what we've got lined up for you over the next 45 minutes or so. So it wasn't the best start to the season for Leicester City, but things came better as we went into those winter months, and we'll be taking a look back. Also, our Goal of the Month competition for November is still open. Anyone going to beat that one? Surely not. And of course, tonight it's all about the League Cup, and we'll be taking a look at that journey so far. So as we said, it was a tough start to the season for Leicester City, but maybe that World Cup break came at probably the wrong time, because things were picking up on the field for Brendan Rodgers' side. Let's take a look back at some of those best bits.
Comes back to Maddison, edge of the box, deflected and in! It's James Maddison again! It's against the local rivals! Barnes, edge of the box, onto his right foot, Harvey Barnes! Oh, that's fantastic! That is absolutely brilliant from Harvey Barnes! Leicester scored 2 goals in 60 seconds, and Nottingham Forest are left stunned here at King Power Stadium. James Maddison, right-footed! Listen to the noise, it tells you what Maddison has done, he's curled it beyond the wall. It's a ball driven in, Daka! Brilliant pass to Daka, the substitute. Maddison, this time the creator. Fizzy one in right-footed. Managing to hook the ball to Vardy, Dewsbury Hall, Harvey Barnes! Locks playing against Leeds United! Tielemans back in, oh what a goal! Yuri Tielemans, that is absolutely outrageous! Well, he does pop up with these spectacular strikes, doesn't he? He's got the beating of him. Dewsbury Hall back to Barnes on there. Barnes 2-0! Classic Harvey Barnes. Give, go, move, shoot, score. Maddison, edge of the D, can wrap it up here. James Maddison, yes! 3-0 Leicester. Leicester, and that will do. Cross ball, and it's Vardy who makes it 4. Jamie Vardy, rustling the Wolves fans in that corner. Tillemans on the edge of the box, control shoot. That is unbelievable from Yuri Tillemans. The goals just get better from the Belgian midfielder. He's just behind Barnes. He's turned up to his left foot, and he's given Leicester a second goal. And it's another stunner in this game. And it's Harvey Barnes on target once again. He's inside the box, helped over by Daka, and Madison's there! James Madison celebrating the England call by firing Leicester in front. Barnes starting to the left, and Barnes is onto it. Harvey Barnes, Fabianski committed, and Harvey Barnes makes it 2. Game done. Leicester City with the point in the bag again.
Live before the World Cup, and things were looking quite good for Leicester City just going into that break, and no doubt we'll see that Yuri Tillemans goal at Everton a couple more times tonight. Of course, we are going to be taking a look at those goal of the season contenders for November. Now, I believe we have Mr. Jerry Taggart with us now. Jerry, have we got you?
Yeah, I can hear you loud and clear.
Good to have you with us, Jerry. How are you doing? How did you enjoy the World Cup?
I'm doing very well, and I didn't watch that much of the World Cup, if I'm being honest, Lewis. Football overload for me, I'm afraid. So I watched bits and bobs. I watched the England-France game. I watched the final, of course, but little bits here and there in between. So yeah, I'd probably get a C- in the Scud report for that one.
Well, I thought for a second you were going to say you did miss the final, which I'm glad you didn't, because it was quite a special game on Sunday, of course. Now turning our attention, of course, back to Leicester City. Are you surprised at all by the lineup tonight? 5 of those World Cup players straight back in to Brendan Rodgers' starting 11.
Yeah, not really. I think Brendan's obviously taken into consideration how far they got in the tournament, how many minutes they actually got over there while they were involved with the countries. Historically, he's taken this competition very, very seriously indeed. And that's reflected again tonight. We've seen it in the last game against Newport, where he put out a strong team, and it's, pretty much the same tonight. I haven't got the changes in front of me, but you say that it's still a pretty strong side that Brendan's putting out tonight. Given this competition, the respect it deserves.
Yeah, absolutely. We're talking about those World Cup players, 5 of them starting who are out in Qatar. Papi Mendy on the bench, just no James Maddison involved tonight. But looking at those who are playing, you have to think that Belgian trio are probably quite likely wanting to get some competitive action under their belt, because they had a World Cup to forget, and they're going to want to get themselves back in that winning flow tonight.
Yeah, I think whether you were involved in the World Cup or whether you were sunning yourself on some far-flung beach, I think each and every one of the players will be itching to get back. They're only halfway through the season, and there's a lot of football to be played, so they'll be itching to get back. But especially for those lads, there's probably a little bit of frustration for those players, those Belgian players who, obviously went there. I know Tim and Yuri got game time. I can't remember. I don't think Fast did, if memory serves me correctly. Or I definitely didn't see him get on the pitch anyway. But so for them, a little bit of frustration. Obviously going into that tournament as one of the favourites to do well, and then having a disappointing tournament. Then you would like to think that they would like to right a few wrongs, and that obviously starts here tonight, and then moving forward.
And of course, we all know it wasn't the start to the season that Leicester City would have wanted. But as we just saw in that clip of the kind of winter form before going away on that World Cup break, things were getting better for Leicester City, looking more like themselves, free-flowing football, the goals of Harvey Barnes, of James Maddison, of Jamie Vardy as well. It almost came at the wrong time, that break, but whether there ever would have been a right time, we'll never know, because it was such an unknown quantity having that break in the middle of the season. But Leicester City were looking far more like themselves, weren't they?
Yeah, I think if you ask Brendan Rodgers, would he rather have gone into the World Cup break in good form or bad form? I'm sure he would have took, the former rather than the latter. Yes, you are probably right to say that momentum was with Leicester. They had built up a really good head of steam, great performances, great goals, adding to great results, adding to, the confidence within the squad. And then to have the World Cup right bang in the centre of that, then it is a bit of a conundrum. There's no two ways about it. But, it's important for Brendan as a manager and, also his coaching staff, even though they might have had, I don't know, 1 or 2 weeks off in total. Once he gets the majority of the players back, that feel good factor, returns to the training ground, dressing room, and they move forward together as a team. And I'm sure that was probably one of the biggest things that Brendan had to, negotiate, was how does he, when all the players come back into full training, does he, try and keep that momentum and that feel good factor from where they left off in that last game.
Well, you said about the football overload with the World Cup, and I think it's been for everybody. We've kind of been taken over by the World Cup, and maybe some people have forgotten what happened just before the break. So let's take a look at Leicester's last 5 fixtures or so going into the break for Qatar, because it was a great run of form from Leicester City. Of course, that 4-0 win away at Wolves, a real mark they put down there, and almost felt like a bit of a change in the fortunes, Jerry.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that was a bit of a catalyst. I'm not saying it was the best performance that Leicester had produced that season by any stretch, but to almost to devastating effects, like just dismantled Wolves. I think that was the first away win of the season, if I'm not wrong as well, and to do it in that fashion was something else. So yeah, a massive game that day. And they went out and backed it up. Jamie Vardy obviously getting on the score sheet was massively important. Yuri Tielemans with a goal of the season contender as well. James Maddison, continuing that good form he's been in. So yeah, all round it was a massive game, a bit of a derby. So to get the 3 points that convincingly, was a massive confidence booster.
And then, of course, it moved on to Manchester City at home, which again, a 1-0 defeat, always disappointing to lose, but actually going up against the best side in the country, one of the best sides in the country, and really putting on a show at King Power Stadium that day, and perhaps unfortunate to lose that one. Then the Everton game, then there was Newport, of course, in the League Cup, which of course we're focused on tonight, and then that game that will linger in the mind is at West Ham. It's that away one. It's the last game the Leicester City fans enjoyed before the World Cup, and a very dominant performance, which not many people go to West Ham and just say that was quite straightforward.
Yeah, it was again a massive game, before the break, before the World Cup break, and if you're going to have that long of a break, you want to make sure that you're leaving with that feel-good factor intact. They built that momentum up over the last however many games, like you say, from Forest, really. Okay, they had the draw against Palace, the defeat away to Bournemouth, obviously the defeat to Man City. But you have to say the momentum was steadily building, the confidence was growing. And then for all that, to not fall apart as such, but for some of that confidence and momentum to be taken away from you in the last game before you go into a pretty long break, let's face it. It's a pretty extended break that the players have been on. And it just leaves a bitter taste in the mouth. And as you said, going to West Ham, taking the 3 points, keeping a clean sheet, You know, that was a top class away performance. I mean, it really was. You know, at times they had their backs to the wall. At times Danny Ward had to come up with a good yet again, pulling off a couple of great saves. And then classic counter-attack football from Leicester with Harvey Barnes just go late on to seal it. You know, just a fantastic piece of football.
Of course, Leicester hoping to continue where they left off tonight when they take on MK Dons in the League Cup. We've got our team on site at Stadium MK and we'll be catching up with Ewan Roberts very soon. Really interesting story down there at the moment. Of course, their manager Liam Manning was sacked earlier this month. Captain Dean Lewington then took the caretaker role. He's currently having hamstring surgery, therefore is not available to lead the side. So Bradley Johnson, another MK Dons player, stepping in to the dugout. So lots to talk about with regards to tonight's opponent as we go forward on Matchday Live. But right now, let's take a look at those November Goal of the Month contenders.
That's brilliant to Harvey Barnes, controls close to the dead ball line, into the penalty area, left hand side, pulling it back to Daka, short block cleared by Cody. It's cleared to Tillemans on the edge of the box. Control shoot! That is unbelievable from Yuri Tillemans. The goals just get better from the Belgian midfielder. 3 goals in his last 4 away games, and each of them better than the last. Corey's giving possession away, and for a moment it's 3-on-3 as Barnes comes over the halfway line and he goes past his man and in turn he feeds it to Maddison down the left. Vardy and Barnes in the middle, still Maddison, it's just behind Barnes, he's turned onto his left foot and he's given Leicester a second goal, and it's another stunner in this game. The ball is slid into the path of Dennis Pratt on the 18-yard line. Then it's James Justin making his way infield, left-footed, unleashing a shot that's found the back of the net. It's a stunning goal that opens the goal scoring here at King Power Stadium in this League Cup tie. Drops just outside the penalty area to Barnes, who is leading the chase with a great run and a great ball to Vardy. Goalkeeper in no man's land, Jamie Vardy rounds the keeper onto his right foot. There is goal number 2 of the night for Jamie Vardy. Samari over the halfway line, sliding it down the left-hand side, and Barnes is in behind Kehrer here. Barnes inside the area, couldn't quite get the first touch he wanted to set up the shot. Back in now, Dewsbury Hall, he's inside the box, helped over by Daka, and Maddison's there! James Maddison celebrating the England call by firing Leicester in front, and we haven't even played 8 minutes. Pings the ball out towards the right-hand side, but Thomas intercepts, and a quick ball forward from Barnes finds Jose Perez. Vardy ahead of him, Barnes darting to the left, and Barnes is onto it. Harvey Barnes, Fabianski committed, and Harvey Barnes makes it 2! Game done! Leicester City with the point in the bag again, and Harvey Barnes grabs goal number 6 for the season.
There we go, your Goal of the Month contenders for November. Now, voting closes this Friday at midnight. That's the 23rd of December, so get your vote in now on the Leicester City website, lcfc.com. Some real contenders there, but surely, Jerry Taggart, is there only one winner?
Probably. I have to say, I really enjoyed that last goal you showed there, Harvey Barnes. The run from him. You're talking a 60-yard run to get up with play and get on the end of that pass that Jose Perez played. And such a cool finish as well. You know, so composed after sprinting at full pace, you know, receiving the ball on the edge of the box to then be able to steady yourself and just calmly shrug it past the keeper. I thought it's a phenomenal goal and a phenomenally well-worked goal. But in saying that, if you're going to be brutally and totally honest, then yeah, I think for me, it's Youri Tielemans' goal at Everton. I think it's an absolute pile driver.
Yeah, absolute cracker. Actually, a lot of those were sort of cliche goals from those players, weren't they? Jamie Vardy keeping his cool, taking it around the keeper, taking it past the defender and hammering it home. We had, of course, James Maddison finding the roof of the net, Youri Tielemans with a screamer, and Harvey Barnes, of course, really cool finish. Anyway, as we say, this Friday, that is the day for you to make your vote by on the Leicester City website. Right, tonight it's all about the League Cup, a place in the quarterfinals up for grabs against MK Dons. We know we've got Jerry Taggart with us for the evening on Matchday Live, but we've also got our team at the MK Stadium, and that includes Mr. Ewan Roberts. Good evening, Ewan.
How are you, Lewis?
Very well, yourself?
Yeah, not too bad. Now we've sorted the kits out. We had so many technical problems here, but to be fair, Niall came to the rescue. It was just a flick of a button and all was solved.
Was it the power button, Ewan?
No, it was the talk back button, Lewis. I'm not that daft, believe it or not.
Great to have you back with us on Matchday Live, Ewan. Of course, you've got yourself just back from Qatar. How was your experience of the World Cup?
I've been back 2 weeks because Wales weren't very good, as you well know. Do you know what? I wasn't really looking forward to going out there, in all honesty, and I hate myself for that because, you know, 64 years last time Wales had got there. Because of where it was, I wasn't too sure what to expect, but I loved every minute of it, apart from the 3 games that Wales played, and the £14 a pint, that hurt quite a bit as well.
Well, it's fine because it means that you're coming to work for us on LCFC TV to kind of repay the coffers. So it's good to have you with us. What are you expecting from tonight against MK Dons? Of course, 5 of those World Cup players for Leicester straight back into the starting lineup.
I think it's a really strong starting 11. If you look at the team Brendan's chosen, I think it's a statement of intent. You know, the last 16 is a great opportunity of getting to the last 8, and then who knows. You know, you get into the latter stages of a tournament. 8 of the starting 11 tonight started the game, or the last game at West Ham, and I think it's a really good opportunity against a struggling side. You know, no disrespect to MK Dons, they've probably saved their best football for this tournament. They've still yet to concede a goal in the League Cup, on the back of probably one of their best results of the season. You know, went down to Fratton Park and a really good 2-0 win against Portsmouth, but there's no Dean Lewington. Bradley Johnson, who has been a starter for them, who's taking the team tonight, he's dropped himself. I don't think he's even on the bench, so it's a night where I would expect Leicester City to go through quite comfortably.
We'll talk very shortly about exactly what this competition means for Leicester City, but let's have a look at the route to this game so far.
Winners in 1964, in 1997 and in the year 2000. But in 2022, what does their League Cup campaign have in store? Iheanacho, Brighton again. Iheanacho lets the ball run through his legs towards the edge of the D. Good stuff, and Dennis Pratt is in here. Might be a chance. Cleared away off the 6-yard line. Well, Stockport County survived there. Maddison. Now moved on for Tielemans, 25 yards out. He hits it, and it whizzes wide of the post. Flashes across the face of goal, swerving in towards that far corner. But instead it's across the face and behind it goes. Goal kick, and it's Youri Tielemans. It's a short run up and hits it right-footed in front of those Leicester supporters and up against Everson. It's Sarkovic, and it's beautifully saved by Daniel Everson. Stockport's second penalty on as a sub in regulation, and Everson saved again. It's Barnes for Leicester City, and it's saved, but into the top corner. The referees told them to stop, and they continue to do so. Here's Wootton, saved again by Everson. Deja vu. Here he comes, shuffled run up, Dewsbury Hall, off the post and in. And there's the win for Leicester. They win 3-1 on penalties.
City 3 times winners of this competition and have made it to the quarter-final stage, or better, in 4 of the past 5 campaigns. Goes in for a challenge on the edge of the area. It's come back to Barnes. It's Vardy. It's Barnes. It's a lovely 1-2. Great save, Townsend. Getting his body as big as possible, sliding out to Harvey Barnes right on the corner of the 6-yard area. Thought Barnes was in for another goal there, but Townsend impressive in the Newport goal to keep it at 0-0 before the ball is slid into the path of Dennis Pratt on the 18-yard line. Then it's James Justin making his way infield, left-footed, unleashing a shot that's found the back of the net. It's a stunning goal that opens the goal scoring. But it's still with Leicester on the far side. Barnes, lovely disguise, a lovely turn into the penalty area. Harvey Barnes, brilliant save by Nick Townsend. Once again, the Newport goalkeeper keeping Leicester at bay. Brilliant turn by Barnes. Here's Albrighton on the right. A low ball, Vardy's header! Vardy scoring on his 400th Leicester City appearance. He marks it with a goal. And the assist came from Mark Albrighton. Not the first time we've said that down the years. Drops just outside the penalty area to Barnes, who he's leading the chase with a great run and a great ball to Vardy. Goalkeeper in no man's land, Jamie Vardy rounds the keeper onto his right foot. There is goal number 2 of the night for Jamie Vardy, made by Harvey Barnes. Skill and pace taking him away from the challenges and then feeding the ball into Vardy.
There we go, Leicester's League Cup so far, taking us to the 4th round, where tonight it's MK Dons in the way in terms of a place in that quarter-final. That is what up for grabs tonight. Now, Ewan, a moment ago you said about how MK Dons is maybe a game that Leicester would be expected to win, perhaps, but they certainly were at Stockport and Newport as well. Stockport was very close to the edge stuff.
It was, and it came at a time where the club was struggling. You look at the start the club made, and it was a tough start results-wise. Performances weren't great. Went up to Stockport, and it's never easy going to Edgeley Park. You know, I don't think it was a cold Tuesday night up sort of near Manchester at the time, but it was tough. You know, they've won promotion from the National League into League Two, and it's never easy. They got through it, you know, and that's what cup competitions are about. You've got to find a way, and you know, whether you put 3 or 4 against a lower league opposition, or you go through on penalties, it doesn't matter. The most important thing is you're in the hat for the next round, and that's what happened. I thought, you know, the Newport game, it was a comfortable win, you know, a good 3-0 win, clean sheet yet again. And it all depends, you know, which MK Dons, because they have struggled. You know, this is a team that finished 3rd last season, just a point behind second place Rotherham. You know, they've lost their top scorer, Scott Twine, who joined Burnley. They've lost their main defender in Harry Darling, who joined Swansea. So I'm not surprised that they've struggled this season, in all honesty. But I just look at that starting 11 that Brendan has chosen tonight, and I thoroughly expect a convincing win for Leicester. And I don't like tempting fate or being disrespectful to the opposition, but that starting 11, I mean, if you're in that home dressing room here at the MK Stadium and you're seeing that starting 11, you're looking forward to it. You really, really are.
And Jerry, this competition has so much history for Leicester City, but where do you see it this season in its importance for Brendan Rodgers?
Well, at the minute, you know, it comes in a list of 2 second, doesn't it? Let's face it. You know, Leicester still obviously not in a relegation fight as such at the minute, but you know, still looking to claw their way into the top half of the table. as far as the league situation is concerned. But they will earmark this competition as probably the best chance of winning silverware this season. Now, obviously, there's the FA Cup, and they've got a decent draw in the FA Cup third round. But there's 10 Premier League teams that are out of this competition, and two more will definitely go out, over the course of this last 16 round. I think Newcastle play Bournemouth tonight, and obviously Man City and Liverpool get it on Thursday night. So going into the last day, you want to make sure you're in the hat, as a Premier League team playing against a struggling League One side, as Ewan's already mentioned. So again, you're looking at the lineup that Brendan's picked. He's not going into this game, in second gear. He wants a real positive performance. You look back at both games, Stockport was a real struggle, you have to say. And it was only when James Justin really, created that little bit of magic on the edge of the box to get the first goal that things began to settle down against Newport County. And then they ran out, easy winners in the end 3-0. But Newport made it very, very difficult for Leicester in the opening stages. And you can't see anything changing tonight. I think MK Dons, even though they like to play football and they like to play from the back, and can be very attractive on the eye, MK Dons. I think for them it's all about, trying to keep it at 0-0 for as long as possible, and hopefully they can, get 1-2 combination players with the passing game together, maybe hit Leicester on the counter-attack. So it's going to be down to Leicester, even though they're away from home, to come out and take the game to MK Dons, and you may well have to see another little bit of magic from, a Tim Castagna and not James Justin tonight. But I'm expecting a pretty difficult tie.
Well, let's hear a little more about tonight's opponents from Toby Locke, who is the sports editor for the MK Citizen.
Yeah, it's not a good state of affairs at the minute. Obviously, with Liam Manning being sacked over the weekend, and just there's no one coming in at the moment. There doesn't appear to be anybody on the immediate horizon. So it's a trying time at MK Dons. The football hasn't been good. Obviously, down in 23rd in League One, which is a far cry from where they wanted to be. Finishing third last season, pushing for promotion, missing out on autos by a point, missing out in the playoffs. It's all gone downhill in the subsequent months, and it ultimately fell on Liam Manning's head last Sunday, and it just feels like there's been an awful lot of fallout ever since. To be honest, the cup competitions have been where Dons have probably had the most joy. I mean, I know they went out of the Papa John's Trophy on Tuesday night, but it's as far as they've gone in all three cup competitions for many, many years. It is a free hit, and it's a great tie for MK Dons. Everybody wants to look at these cup draws and think if we can land a big Premier League side, it's an exciting one for people to come out and brave the cold and sit at Stadium MK and watch. And yeah, I mean, Leicester, what an opportunity for them, like you say, having not played for a month with the World Cup and everything. Why not go after it? They're in a win-win situation. No one expects them to go through, so they'll have a decent money spinning tie. And if they do go through, well, it's the shock of the round, and everybody's talking about it.
Toby Locke giving us the lowdown on MK Dons. He's from the MK Citizen, the sports editor there. Really good to hear what's been going on. But since that interview took place, MK Dons then went and beat Portsmouth last weekend in League One. A pretty shock result in terms of their form in the league so far. I was actually at that game, and MK Dons didn't look like a team who were really struggling. We see their last results here, losing to Derby and Barnsley and Fleetwood, getting a draw at Burton, and then of course that victory against Portsmouth. You can't really call it a new manager bounce, Jerry, because they don't have a new manager. As we know, Dean Lewington is the captain of the club. He is in caretaker charge, but not tonight because he's currently in surgery. But of course, Bradley Johnson is stepping up. But does that give a little bit of extra vigour, having your teammates really taking charge and those experienced pros taking a hold of the group?
Well, that depends whether or not he knows what he's talking about in the dressing room, to be honest with you, Lewis. And I thought you were looking a bit miserable tonight before we came on air, Lewis. So I now know why, because the MK Dons turned your beloved Portsmouth over, but that's another story, I suppose. But yeah, it all depends. You know, Dean Lewington will come in. He's been there, for time immemorial. You know, I'd love to know how long he's actually played for MK Dons, but it's got to be well over 10 years. And now he's been sort of thrust into taking charge on a temporary basis, albeit, of MK Dons. Yes, you get that manager bounce back. The players are feeling good. And then obviously you have this cup tie against a Premier League team, and, you know, the interim manager's not there, and it has to be handed down to one of the players, one of the guys who have, I don't know how many games he's played this season, Bradley Johnson, but I'm sure he's started a few. You know, he's a very experienced, quality player. So yeah, it's a little bit of upset. I think for Bradley Johnson, it's all about keeping it simple. Don't try and change too much too soon. You're only there for the night. So just go along with probably what Dean Lewington's been telling you from his hospital bed, and just keep the mood in the camp, the mood in the dressing room really nice and focused, nice and positive on the back of that win for away at Portsmouth.
Ewan, didn't you have a similar situation at Gillingham?
Yeah, thanks for that, Lewis. Thanks for reminding me of that. I did for one game. And the chairman at the time, Paul Scally, he got Andy Heston-Tyler to step down. We weren't having the best of times, and he appointed Stan Turner, but Stan wasn't in charge for the next game, and he asked myself to take the team for the away trip to Cardiff, and we got beat 3-1. So that was the start and the finish of my coaching and managerial career. And I'll just answer Tags' question for him. Dean Lewington's been here for 18 years. He is Mr. MK Dons. I remember in 2004 I was at Norwich, coming towards the end of my stint with Norwich City. I played against him. He was a young and up-and-coming left-back. It wasn't at this stadium. They played at the National Hockey Stadium. I'm not too sure where that is, but it's in Milton Keynes somewhere. He played 840 games, or he has played 840 games. I can't believe, the one thing that I'm scratching my head at, could he not put his sort of operation off until sort of after this game?
Yeah, it's a great point. You know, he's probably got a suite in the hotel, a permanent suite in the hotel that's adjoined to the stadium as well. He's been there that long. But yeah, that's a good point you make. Why not put it off till tomorrow? Especially when, you know, you just heard the reporter there saying that, you know, a chance to take a Premier League scalp. Yes, there's no pressure on MK Dons tonight. They're in a little bit of a mess, as he suggested. So why not put it off and you know, and get the guy who's in interim charge, you know, just to make sure that, you know, the team go out tonight with the confidence, that newfound confidence they've just gained.
Well, no Dean Lewington for MK Dons, of course, no Bradley Johnson as well, because he is going to be manager tonight. We'll get the MK Dons lineup for you just before kickoff, and of course we'll run through Leicester City's once more as well. Of course, one of the heroes during this cup run, Daniel Everson, those incredible penalty saves at Stockport. He's not involved tonight, but he's been talking to LCFC TV in the build-up to the match.
The supporters and up against Everson. It's Sarkovic. Beautifully saved by Daniel Everson. Advantage Foxes. in this penalty shootout. Stockport's second penalty on as a sub in regulation, and Everson saved again. Same side, same outcome. Daniel Everson, he's keeping Leicester in this shootout. Here's Wootton, saved again by Everson. Deja vu.
Well, Daniel, it must have seemed like a long time, but club football is back, of course, here at Leicester City. How excited are you for this game against MK Dons?
Yeah, I'm really excited. It's been some long weeks, to be fair. We got 2 weeks off, and it was nice to get some time off, but in that one we was in the Premier League, it was really good, so it was a little bit sad to stop the season there, but it's good to be back with the boys.
What was it like as a player that obviously didn't play in the World Cup? Was it like an off-season, like a summer, because you had a mini pre-season, obviously that trip to Abu Dhabi?
Yeah, but we still need to be fit at home, so we do some program like the coaches have given us, but it's good to see the family and get the clean head again and ready to go again now.
As you said, the form was very good, wasn't it, before the break? So you'll be hoping to pick up on that immediately tomorrow evening.
Yeah, you have to start from tomorrow. We cannot wait a week or 2 weeks to get that form in again. So you have to start from tomorrow. So hopefully let's do that.
You're playing against a team, of course, that hasn't had a break in MK Dons. They've been playing in League One. So how difficult might that be against a team that will be right at the peak of their fitness?
Yeah, like you said, you got the fitness, you got the tempo in, and you win in the weekend. So they can give something to them also. But I'm 100% sure if we play our game and we get the tempo in, the speed in, it's a good game. But it's be a hard game, to be fair. It's a good team.
Obviously, in the first round, Leicester were in this competition away at Stockport County. You were the hero on penalties. Are you expecting a similar type game? That was a really tough evening, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think it'll be a tough game against MK Dons, but I think it'll be a different game for MK Dons. I think they want the ball more. When I played them, I played League One and League Two also. They want the ball, got some good, decent players. So I think it's be a different game, but still a quite tough game.
Are you excited though, if it does go to penalties again, just like it did at Stockport?
Nah, hopefully we will win it in the first 90 minutes. They'll be the best for me.
Daniel Everson there talking to LCFC TV's Dan Bates, and a clear message from Everson there, gents, and it was, we cannot afford to take 1 or 2 weeks to get back into form following this break. So Ewan, how do you expect Leicester to come out this evening?
Flying on all cylinders, and for me it's about 3 things, Lewis. It's about, first and foremost, attitude. You come into a lower league club, you're the firm favourites. I mean, it's a magnificent stadium. It's a Premier League stadium, to be fair. I mean, the surface isn't too bad here, so there's no excuses. So it's about attitude, professionalism and application. And if Leicester City, do those 3 things, yeah, they might be a little bit behind where the MK Dons players are fitness-wise because of obvious reasons. But I still think that tonight Leicester City will have far too much for Milton Keynes.
And Jerry, a place in the last 8 up for grabs, and for Leicester City, there can be no excuses.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, Ewan's right. I think they've had 6 games, I think it is, MK Dons, to Leicester's none. I think, so you would say match fitness-wise, they're probably ahead, although, Leicester have had some more milling training out in Abu Dhabi for a while, and they would have been put through the paces, obviously, to try and get them as quickly back up to speed as possible. And as we all know, there's bigger fish to fry very, very closely down the line next Monday. And so this is a perfect game for Leicester in the run-up to that game against Newcastle to get back up to speed. And Brendan Rodgers will be fully expecting that the team get through tonight. So, he'll not make any excuses for the fitness levels or the lack of them. He will be expecting Leicester to come out and at some stage break this team down.
Okay, it's time to head over to Milton Keynes. Now, if you're watching on our social media feeds, they will be paused, but please do head to lcfc.com to enjoy full commentary of tonight's League Cup clash with MK Dons. And your commentators are Ewan Roberts and Niall McCorn.
Because memories never fade, no matter how long. We'll still remember the moments of excitement and the impressions of Thailand. Amazing Thailand, now even more amazing.
Lamiat is the belief that perfection lies within the details, where the finest ingredients deserve the finest craftsmanship. In every pursuit of perfection, there is passion and perseverance, where attention to detail inspires a masterpiece that's balanced and in harmony. This is the Lamiat philosophy, brewed into every drop of Chang beer. This is the taste of Thai perfection. Chang beer. We brew friendship.
Welcome to Stadium MK, Leicester City on the road in the Carabao Cup. It's been a while since we've done this. Cast your minds back, all the way back to mid-November and a Premier League game against West Ham United. We've had a men's FIFA World Cup in the meantime. As far as the Foxes are concerned, we've had some WSL matches and some under-21 games to feast upon too. But it's the men's first team in action tonight, and a really good opportunity to reach the quarter-finals of this competition. And a League One side who are 22nd in their respective division stand in their way. Brendan Rodgers, though, pulling no punches with his team selection tonight. A very strong side indeed, as MK Dons will hopefully be the next side to fall by the wayside at the hands of the Foxes. Ewan Roberts is alongside me this evening. You've already mentioned it once, Ewan, but this is a pretty impressive stadium and probably not too dissimilar to the kind of grounds that the Leicester players are used to playing in. It's not quite an Edgeley Park. It's not quite like what we might have seen at Rodney Parade had the game been there. It's certainly probably more suited to Premier League standards, isn't it?
Yeah, it's something that they've come accustomed to, you know, plush surroundings, if you like, big dressing rooms, plenty of space. I mean, in the past, I remember going to certain grounds and the starting 11 would go into the changing room first, and then they'd go out and warm up, and then the subs would go in. None of that here. There literally is no excuses. You know, it's 45 minutes down the M1 from Leicester. They wouldn't have had to come down last night and stay in a hotel. I'm sure they would have made that journey this afternoon. Nearly a fully fit fully fit squad to choose from, which Brendan has used. He's chosen a very, very strong starting 11, as I said at the beginning of the programme. That shows intent from Brendan. I think that shows how seriously he's taken this competition. You know, I think last season they were very unlucky in the way they went out up at Anfield 2 seasons ago. They got within touching distance of the final when it was cruelly taken away at Villa Park with that last-minute goal in I think it was extra time. Now you'll know better than me, but I do see this game as a real good opportunity of not just getting through to the quarter-final stages of the League Cup, but starting this second half of the season, because that's what it is after the break that the lads have had. It's the start of the second half of the season with a win under the belts, and carry on with the momentum and the confidence in which they finished the first half of the season.
Do they have squid in Milton Keynes? Not sure they do.
I'm sure they will have somewhere.
As you mentioned, it's not too far down the road. We're expecting a big following tonight. Behind the goal, you can see them away to our left here. There's a sea of blue there already, and there's still plenty of seats left to be filled. So they'll give the players a really good backing tonight. You say no excuses, but this is the first game in well over a month for Leicester City. As for MK Dons, they really released the shackles by beating a Pompey side away from home who hadn't lost at Fratton Park since January. So even though they are managerless at this point in time, and there's someone else taking charge tonight, as we've already discussed, they probably will be more match sharp, and that is something to be aware of.
Yeah, it's not going to be easy, but the three things that I mentioned 10 minutes ago about attitude and professionalism, all those things that you take for granted as fans, you'd expect those things to come naturally to players. Sometimes it doesn't quite happen. I just see this as a great chance. We've spoken about MK Dons. Yeah, they're on a great win at Pompey, probably the best win of their season. They've kept their best football of this season, and they have been poor in this competition. They've kept 3 clean sheets to get to this stage. But if the Leicester City that we've seen in their last 8 Premier League games, sorry Sam, because obviously they lost to AFC Bournemouth, if the Leicester team that finished before the World Cup break turn up, then I can only see one winner.
In terms of the weekend for MK Dons, and we'll run through their starting 11 very shortly, Bradley Johnson scored against Portsmouth. He's not in the squad tonight. He takes temporary charge. He's dropped himself completely out of the squad. As I say, we'll recap the teams very, very shortly. But as Jerry Taggart has already mentioned tonight, Ewan, we've got Newcastle versus Bournemouth this evening, Manchester City against Liverpool on Thursday, and then there are some other Championship and probably less efficient Premier League teams, let's just say, still in the mix. So you mentioned opportunity. This really is one tonight, isn't it?
Yeah, I think Nottingham Forest have got quite a tough game. I'm not sure if they're away to Blackburn, which won't be easy. Blackburn, I think they're third in the Championship, went down to Carrow Road on Saturday and won that game quite comfortably by 2-0. They score plenty of goals. You've got the likes of Charlton, who are struggling in League One, still in it. Gillingham, who Leicester have got in the third round of the FA Cup at Priestfield. They go to Wolves. If there is going to be a shock tonight with some of the lower league clubs against Premier League clubs, I think what Brendan's got to emphasise in that dressing room, and I don't think he'll need to do that, the players will know what a good opportunity this is, that the shock doesn't happen here.
Yeah, let's hope so. Leicester, of course, probably playing a strong team tonight just by virtue of the fact that there's not been any football really, and that's probably why we've seen such a strong side selected by Brendan Rodgers. But it is a great opportunity, as we've already mentioned tonight, for the Foxes to march on in the Carabao Cup. Football has a funny way of creeping up on you, and although it's been so long since the last game, after this one it will very much feel like back in full swing. We always say this, and it doesn't matter who the opposition is, Ewan, but you want to stamp your authority early. You're the big club, you're the Premier League club with the massive backing in Leicester City, so you want to take the game by the scruff of the neck early, and don't give Milton Keynes Dons any confidence at all, any idea that they might be able to get at you.
I've said it for quite a few years now, Niall. Leicester are at their very, very best when they're high tempo, when they start quickly, when they turn teams or turn the opposition's defence and force them to run towards their own goal with the pace of Jamie Vardy, when there's good tempo to their passing, when they've got good movement, there's good pace in the team. If they start with a good tempo, then I can only see one outcome tonight.
Well, after more than a month, Leicester City are back in competitive action tonight. Cast your mind back, all the way back to the 12th of November and a 2-0 Premier League win over West Ham. 38 days later, we are back. A World Cup in the middle of a domestic season is something unprecedented, but Leicester City reaching the latter stages of the Carabao Cup certainly isn't. They've made it to at least the quarter-finals 4 times in the last 5 seasons and have a really good chance to extend that record tonight. Lower league opposition again for the Foxes after Stockport and Newport. MK Dons the test this evening for Brendan Rodgers' men, and there are no punches pulled by the Leicester manager, despite the fact MK are 22nd in League One. It's as strong a side as you could think of, with 5 players who featured in the World Cup in Qatar in the lineup tonight. James Maddison, though, isn't one of those, as he is not in the squad. Everson was the star of the Foxes' first game in the competition this season at Stockport, but it's Ward preferred in goal this evening, and in front of him, Fass, Barnes, Tielemans, Vardy, Perez, Amate, Pratt, Castagna, Thomas and Soumare. Here are the Leicester City substitutes. Everson is amongst them, Albrighton, Iheanacho, Daka, who started up front against West Ham in the game before the World Cup, Vestergaard, Mendy and Didi, and an opportunity for 2 youngsters amongst the substitutes as well, Casey McAteer and Will Alves, 2 members of the Foxes development squad. So for MK Dons, it's been a tough start to the season for them. They've recently parted company with their manager, and Dean Lewington, who's not here tonight, took temporary charge of their win over high-flying Portsmouth in League One at the weekend. Their first win away from home, the first defeat for Pompey since January in League One. Here's the side that they've chosen tonight. Bradley Johnson actually scored in that game at Fratton Park. He's taking temporary charge, so he's not involved this evening. Coming in goal, Watson, Tucker, O'Horan, McEachran, once of Chelsea, Will Grigg, who's a familiar name to those Championship fans amongst you, Mo Issa, Connor Grant, Daniel Harvey, Dawson Devoy and Zach Jules. So we're almost ready to get underway here as referee Andre Mariner is going through the formalities with the 2 captains. Leicester's skipper tonight is Yuri Tielemans, and already the atmosphere beginning to build. Quite an empty top tier directly opposite us here, as Leicester in their blue shirts, blue shorts and blue socks line up opposite the MK Dons, who, as far as football clubs go, are relatively infant, founded in just 2004, of course, from the embers of the old Wimbledon FC, and that's a bit of an aggravating tale. If you are a Wimbledon supporter, you won't be too fond of those who frequent these parts. But that Leicester away end over to our left, absolutely packed out, and we're almost ready to get underway here as Jamie Vardy stretches on the halfway line and play begins here in Milton Keynes. And immediately Leicester into their work with Daniel Amate in possession. And now it's Wout Fass, who's been so impressive since his arrival. He had to wait for it, didn't he, Ewan, to get that first opportunity in Leicester colours, but he's taken it so well when he has played.